The rain came down in sheets, soaking through Emily Carter's threadbare jacket as she trudged along the cracked sidewalks of Chicago's Loop. Her stomach gnawed at her insides, a sharp, relentless ache that had become her constant companion over the past 4 days. She hadn't eaten anything substantial since a half-eaten sandwich she'd scavenged from a diner's trash. Her sneakers, once white, were now a muddy gray, the soles so thin she felt every pebble beneath her feet. Exhaustion weighed on her like a physical force, her eyelids heavy, her shoulders slumped. Yet, there was a stubborn spark in her hazel eyes, a refusal to give up, fueled by the memory of her mother's voice. Keep going. You're tougher than the toughest storms. She scanned the bustling city around her, men in sharp suits hurrying past, women clutching umbrellas, the glow of neon signs reflecting off wet pavement. Somewhere in this urban maze, there had to be a job, a chance, a lifeline. She'd been turned away from every diner, bookstore, Ekinomon, Art Kinnaman Watson, and corner shop she'd tried. Her lack of a permanent address and worn appearance closing doors before she could even speak. Still, Masuritum. She kept moving, driven by a desperate hope that today might be different. As she knelt to tighten a loose shoelace near a flickering street lamp, something caught her eye, a glint of leather against the grimy curb. A wallet, de Fornefon, sleek and black, lay discarded in a puddle. Emily's heart skipped a beat. She glanced around, half expecting someone to rush forward and claim it, but the crowd moved on, oblivious. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. The leather cool and heavy in her hands, she opened it, and her breath caught. Cash, hundreds of dollars in crisp bills, more money than she'd seen in years. There were credit cards, a driver's license, and a business card with gold embossed lettering. James Whitaker, CEO, Whitaker Enterprises. Emily's mind raced. This money could buy her a hot meal, a night in a cheap motel, maybe even a new pair of shoes. It could be a ticket out of this endless cycle of hunger and cold. Her chest tightened with longing, the weight of her need pressing against her ribs. But then, unbidden, Kirwana Banarashuribashu, her mother's voice echoed again. Do what's right, even when it hurts. She flipped through the wallet again, her eyes lingering on James Whitaker's name. She'd seen it before, on billboards, in newspaper headlines. He was one of Chicago's elite, a man whose wealth could probably buy the entire block she stood on. This wallet wasn't just money, it was his life, his trust, his security. She closed it with a snap, her jaw set. The hunger clawed at her, but something deeper, pride, integrity, a refusal to become someone she couldn't face in the mirror, won out. She memorized the address on the driver's license, a ritzy part of the Gold Coast she'd never dared venture into. With a deep breath, as she started walking, the rain soaking her to the bone. The journey took hours. Her legs ached, her socks squelched, and the wallet felt like a lead weight in her pocket. By the time she reached the towering iron gates of Whitaker's mansion, her body was screaming for rest. The house loomed before her, all glass and stone, its windows glowing like a beacon of a world she didn't belong to. Her throat went dry, a mix of awe and intimidation knotting her stomach. She pressed the intercom button, her heart pounding. A gruff voice crackled through the speaker. "What do you want?" Emily straightened, though her voice wavered. "I need to see Mr. James Whitaker. It's important." A man appeared at the gate, tall and broad, his security uniform crisp despite the drizzle. His eyes raked over her, her drenched clothes, her tangled hair, the exhaustion etched into her face. His lip curled. "Mr. Whitaker doesn't see people like you. Move along." Her face burned, shame and anger twisting inside her. She clutched the wallet tighter, its edges digging into her palm. "I'm not here for a handout. I have something of his. Please, turn find him. Just tell him I'm here." The guard scoffed, crossing his arms. "Yeah, Ishfiman. And what's that?" "It's personal, between me and him." Her voice was steady now, fueled by defiance. She wasn't invisible. "Not today." He stared at her, his skepticism clear. But something in her unwavering gaze made him pause. "Wait here," he muttered, disappearing back into the mansion's grounds. Emily stood alone, the rain dripping off her nose, her heart hammering. She felt small, out of place, like a smudge on this pristine world. But she held her ground. The wallet a silent reminder of why she was here. Minutes dragged by, each one heavier than the last. Her eyes stung. but she blinked back tears. She wouldn't break. Not now. The gate creaked open, and a man stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair slicked back in a navy suit that screamed money. James Whitaker. His blue eyes were sharp, assessing, but there was a weariness in them, a shadow that didn't match his polished exterior. He stopped a few feet away, his brow furrowed as he studied her. "You wanted to see me." His voice was deep, cautious. Emily swallowed, her mouth dry. She held out the wallet, her hands trembling from cold and nerves. "I found this on Michigan Avenue this morning. It's yours." James took it, his movements slow, almost disbelieving. He opened it, checking the contents, cash, cards, documents, all untouched. His shoulders relaxed slightly, a breath escaping him. "You didn't take anything." Maria, he said, more to himself than to her. "It's not mine," Emily replied, her voice quiet but firm. She met his gaze, though it took every ounce of courage. He looked up, really seeing her now, her soaked clothes, her pale face, the stubborn strength in her eyes. "What's your name?" "Emily Carter." "Why did you come all this way?" "You could have kept it. No one would have known." She hesitated, the weight of her choice settling over her. "Because it was the right thing to do. I wouldn't be able to live with myself otherwise." James nodded, a flicker of something, respect, maybe, crossing his face. He turned to the guard, who lingered nearby. "Open the gate." The guard blinked, surprised. "Sir?" "She's coming in." Emily's eyes widened. "That's not necessary. I just wanted to—" "You walk through the rain to return my wallet." James interrupted, his tone gentle but firm. "The least I can do is offer you a coffee." Come in. "Why you come in?" She hesitated, her instincts screaming that she didn't belong here. But the warmth in his voice, the sincerity in his eyes, nudged her forward. She stepped through the gate, her heart racing as she entered a world that felt like a dream. The mansion's interior was breathtaking. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, walls lined with art that probably cost more than she'd ever earn. Emily felt like an intruder, her wet shoes leaving faint marks on the polished floor. James led her to a cozy sitting room, where a fire crackled in a massive hearth. He gestured to a plush armchair. "Make yourself comfortable. I'll be right back." She sat gingerly, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. The warmth of the room seeped into her bones, but it only heightened her sense of displacement. She didn't belong here, among this wealth, this elegance. Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that James saw her, not as a homeless woman, but as a person. He returned with a tray, a steaming mug of coffee, a plate of fresh muffins, and a small bowl of fruit. "I wasn't sure what you'd like," he said, setting it on the table. "Help yourself." Emily's stomach growled audibly, and she flushed, mortified. But James just smiled, a small, kind gesture that eased her embarrassment. She took a muffin, the warmth of it almost bringing tears to her eyes. "Thank you," she murmured, taking a cautious bite. It was the best thing she'd tasted in months. "Do you live nearby?" James asked, settling into the chair across from her. She stared at the coffee, her fingers tightening around the mug. "Not really. I don't have a place right now. I've been on the streets for a while." His eyebrows rose, but there was no judgment in his expression, only curiosity. "And yet you returned my wallet." She shrugged, though the motion felt heavy. "I lost my job last year. My mom passed away, and she was all I had. Things just fell apart. I've been trying to find work, but it's hard when you don't have an address or clean clothes." James leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "You could have taken the money. It would have helped. It wouldn't have been right." She said simply, "I want a fresh start, but not like that." He studied her, his gaze intense but not unkind. "You're remarkable." "Emily," she looked away, her cheeks warming. "I'm just trying to survive." "Nah." "Oh," he said softly. "You're doing more than that. You're choosing who you want to be." The words hit her hard, stirring something deep inside, pride, maybe, or hope. She didn't know how to respond, so she sipped her coffee, letting the warmth ground her. James's phone buzzed in his pocket, and he glanced at it, his expression shifting to one of mild annoyance. "I need to take this." "Will you wait here?" "Just a few minutes." She nodded, and he stepped out, leaving her alone in the opulent room. She sat stiffly, afraid to touch anything, her eyes wandering over the framed photos on the mantel. One caught her attention, a young boy, maybe 5 or 6, with James's blue eyes and a shy smile. He held a toy plane, his face lit with joy. Emily's heart ached. She'd always wanted a family, us a home, but life had taken those dreams and ground them to dust. Soft footsteps broke her thoughts. She turned to see the boy from the photo standing in the doorway, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. His pajamas were rumpled, his dark hair mussed from sleep. He stared at her, curious but cautious. "Hi," Emily said gently, offering a small smile. "I'm Emily. What's your name?" He took a tentative step forward. "Lucas Warren. That's a great name. Is that your dinosaur?" He looks fierce. Lucas's lips twitched, almost a smile. He moved closer, sitting cross-legged on the rug. "His name's Spike. He eats carrots." "Carrots. That's a cool dinosaur." Emily leaned forward, her voice playful. "Does he ever eat broccoli?" Lucas giggled. A soft, unexpected sound. "No way. Broccoli's gross." She laughed, the tension in her chest easing. "You're right. Spike's got good taste." Lucas scooted closer, holding out Spike for her to see. "Want to play?" "Sure." Emily slid to the floor, sitting beside him. "What's Spike's favorite game?" "He likes to hide." Lucas's eyes sparkled as he tucked Spike behind a cushion. "You have to find him." Emily played along, pretending to search with exaggerated confusion. "Is he under the table?" "No." Behind the lamp, Lucas's giggles grew louder, his shyness melting away. She hadn't felt this light in years, like she was a kid again, before life had turned hard. Across the room, James stood frozen in the hallway, his phone forgotten in his hand. He'd ended his call early, drawn back by the sound of laughter, Lucas's laughter, a sound he hadn't heard in 2 years, not since his wife, Anna Wanatinisamanasowurnansom, died in a car accident. Lucas had shut down after that, retreating into a silent world no therapist or nanny could penetrate. James had tried everything, specialists, toys, some trips, but nothing had brought his son back. Until now, he watched as Emily made silly faces, coaxing another laugh from Lucas. Her damp hair clung to her face. Her clothes were worn, but there was a warmth in her, a genuineness that lit up the room. James's throat tightened. This woman, a stranger who'd walked through his gate with nothing but his wallet, had done what no one else could. His heart stirred, a mix of gratitude and something deeper, something he wasn't ready to name. Lucas looked up and saw him. "Adi Yumi," he called, his voice brighter than James had heard in years. "Emily's playing with Spike. She's funny." James forced a smile, his voice thick. "Is she? That's great, buddy." Emily stood, brushing her hands on her jeans, suddenly self-conscious. "Sorry." "Hidichi. He just came in, and we started talking." "Don't apologize," James said quickly. It's incredible." He looked at Lucas, who was now stacking cushions to make a dinosaur cave. "He hasn't laughed like this since." He trailed off, the words too heavy. Emily nodded, understanding without needing him to finish. "He's a sweet kid." James took a deep breath, his mind racing. "Emily, I was going to offer you something, a job, maybe to thank you for what you did. But now," he glanced at Lucas, then back at her, "I have a different idea." She frowned on him. Wary. "What do you mean?" "My son hasn't been himself since we lost his mom. He's been closed off. No one's been able to reach him. But you walked in, and he's laughing, talking, playing. I don't know how you did it, but I know I need you here. Not just for me, but for him." Emily's heart pounded. "You're offering me a job. More than that. If funny mornings, I want you to be Lucas's caregiver. You'd live here, have a salary, a room, rid a room, everything you need. I know it's a lot to ask, but I saw what you did just now. I trust you." She stared at him, the weight of his words sinking in. "A home. A job, a chance to start over." But it was more than that. It was a chance to matter, to be needed. Her eyes flicked to Lucas, who was humming softly as he played. She thought of her mother, of the wallet, of the choice she'd made on that rainy street. "You don't even know me," she whispered. "I know enough," James said. "And Lucas, he knows you too." She took a shaky breath, her mind a whirlwind of fear and hope. "Okay, I'll do it." James's face broke into a relieved smile. He extended his hand. Welcome. So, Emily. She shook it. Her grip firm despite the tremor in her fingers. As their hands parted, she felt a shift, like the first step onto a new path. For the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving, she was beginning. That night, Emily lay in a guest room that felt like a palace. The bed was soft, the sheets crisp, the air scented faintly of lavender. She stared at the ceiling, her heart racing with a mix of disbelief and gratitude. The borrowed pajamas she wore were too big, slipping off one shoulder, but they were warm, clean, a luxury she hadn't known in months. She thought of her mother, of the nights they'd spent dreaming of a better life. I did it, Mom Fontaine, she whispered into the dark. I'm starting over. The next morning, she woke to sunlight streaming through the window. She dressed in the only other outfit she owned, jeans and a faded sweater, and headed downstairs. The kitchen smelled of coffee and toast, and an older woman with gray-streaked hair was setting out plates. You must be Emily, she said warmly. I'm Clara, the housekeeper. Sit. Have some breakfast. Emily hesitated, then sat, accepting a slice of toast. Thank you, and Turdom. Is Lucas up? He's a late riser, Clara said with a chuckle. But he'll be down soon, Mr. Whitaker's already in his office. But he said to make you feel at home. Home money, home money, the word felt foreign, but it warmed her. She ate slowly, savoring each bite. Her hunger finally quieted. When Lucas appeared, still in pajamas, he grinned at her. Hi, Emily. Want to see my cars? She smiled, her nerves easing. You bet. Lead the way. They spent the morning in the backyard, a sprawling lawn with a small patio where Lucas raced his toy cars across the grass. Emily sat beside him, cheering as he narrated each race. This one's lightning. He's the fastest. Lucas's eyes shone, his shyness gone. Emily felt a pang of joy, mixed with a strange ache. She'd never had this, not even as a child, but being here with Lucas felt like reclaiming something lost. From the second-floor office, James watched through the window, a coffee mug forgotten in his hand. Lucas's laughter carried up to him, a sound that pierced his heart. He'd built an empire, amassed wealth most could only dream of, but none of it had brought his son back. Emily had, in less than a day, he felt a pull toward her. Not just gratitude, but something warmer, deeper. He pushed it aside, focusing on the moment. She was here for Lucas. That was enough. Over the next few days, Emily settled into a routine. She played with Lucas, read him stories, helped him build forts out of blankets. He started talking more, his words tumbling out in bursts about his favorite superheroes, his dreams of flying. The time he saw a real fire truck, Emily listened, really listened, and it unlocked something in him. She felt it too, a sense of purpose she hadn't known she could have. One evening, as she tucked Lucas into bed, he looked up at her, his eyes serious. Emily, are you gonna stay forever? Her heart squeezed. I'm here now. Buddy, wasti you was, and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. He smiled, satisfied, and drifted off. Emily lingered, watching his chest rise and fall. She felt a fierce protectiveness, a love she hadn't expected. It scared her, how much she cared, but it also made her feel alive. Downstairs, James was in the kitchen, pouring a glass of wine. He looked up as she entered, his expression softening. He's asleep. Yeah, girl, we're my mom. Went out like a light. She hesitated, then sat at the counter, tones. He's a great kid. He is, and he's different with you. James slid a glass of water toward her. You're good for him, she blushed. Looking down, I'm just being there. That's more than most people can do. He paused, studying her. Have you thought about what you want? Emily, beyond this, the question caught her off guard. I don't know. I never had the luxury of dreaming big. I just wanted to survive. You're doing more than surviving now. He said, you could go to school, learn something new. I'd help. Her eyes widened. Why would you do that? Because you've given my son something priceless. I want to give you something too. She shook her head, overwhelmed. I don't want charity. It's not charity. It's belief in you. The words hung between them. Heavy with meaning, Emily felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. I'll think about it, she said softly. Over the next few weeks, Emily became a fixture in the Whitaker household. Lucas clung to her, his laughter filling the once quiet halls. James started coming home earlier, joining them for dinner or a game of cards. Emily noticed the way he looked at her, longer than necessary, with a warmth that made her heart race. She felt it too, a pull toward him, but she pushed it down. He was her employer, a man from a different world. She couldn't afford to hope for more. One night, after Lucas was asleep, James found her in the library, flipping through a book on child psychology. Research. Which for a one? He asked, leaning against the doorframe. She smiled, and closing the book. Just curious. Lucas is so smart, but he's got a lot going on inside. I want to understand him better. Obwesa Rishwan. James sat across from her, his expression serious. You already do. But if you're interested, I meant what I said about school. There's a program at the community college, early childhood education. I could cover the costs. Emily's breath caught. James or Niwan Asha. That's too much. Nah, tu nada de buena denonal. It's not. You have a gift, Emily. You could do this professionally. Make a difference for kids like Lucas. She looked down, her fingers tracing the book's cover. No one's ever believed in me like this. Then it's about time someone did, he said, his voice low. She met his gaze, and for a moment, the world narrowed to just them. Her heart pounded, a mix of fear and longing. She wanted to believe him, to believe in herself, but trust was a fragile thing, and hers had been broken too many times. I'll think about it, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. He nodded, a small smile tugging at his lips. That's all I ask. As weeks turned to months, Emily's life transformed. She enrolled in the college program. Her first classes a mix of terror and excitement. James gave her a laptop, a backpack, and a company card for supplies, insisting it was part of her job. She used it sparingly, still uncomfortable with his generosity, but she couldn't deny the thrill of learning, of building something for herself. Lucas thrived under her care. He started drawing again, bright pictures of him and Emily flying kites or building snowmen. One day, he handed her a drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands, labeled me, Emily Sushurates. Her throat tightened. Who's this? Herdeturnerum. Buddy, my family, he said simply, and ran off to play. Emily held the drawing, tears blurring her vision. Family. She'd never thought she'd have one again, not after losing her mom. But here it was, unexpected and fragile, but real. That evening, James invited her to a charity gala, a black tie event for his company's foundation. I want you there, he said, not as Lucas's caregiver, but as my guest. She hesitated, her old insecurities flaring. James, sir, I don't belong at something like that. You belong anywhere you choose to be, he said firmly, and I want you by my side. Her heart raced, a mix of fear and excitement. I don't have anything to wear. He smiled. Leave that to me. The next day, a box arrived at her door. Inside was a deep green dress, elegant but simple, with matching heels and a delicate necklace. Emily stared at it, her fingers brushing the fabric. It was beautiful, but it felt like a costume, a role she wasn't sure she could play. Still, she wanted to try for James, for herself. At the gala, she descended the mansion staircase, her heart pounding. James waited at the bottom, his tuxedo impeccable, his eyes widening as he saw her. Emily, you look incredible, she blushed, smoothing the dress. I feel like I'm pretending. You're not, he said, offering his arm. You're exactly where you're meant to be. The gala was a whirlwind of crystal glasses, soft music, and people who seemed to float through the room. Emily felt out of place, but James stayed close, introducing her as his friend, his hand brushing hers in quiet reassurance. She relaxed, her smile growing genuine as she talked with guests, her warmth disarming even the most skeptical. The later one, sure, they stepped onto a balcony overlooking the city. The skyline glittered, a sea of light stretching to the horizon. Emily leaned against the railing, the cool air calming her nerves. Thank you for this, she said. I never thought I'd be part of something like this. James stood beside her, his voice low. Emily, you've changed everything. Lucas is himself again. I'm myself again. And it's because of you. She turned to him, her heart racing. James Hurtirhi I'm just, no, he interrupted gently. You're not just anything. You're the woman who brought light back into my life, and I'm falling in love with you. Her breath caught, his words sinking into her like a warm tide. She wanted to speak, to tell him she felt it too, but fear held her back. James, her mum. I, I need time. He nodded, his eyes steady. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. They returned to the mansion in silence, the weight of his confession settling between them. Emily lay awake that night, her mind spinning. She'd spent so long guarding her heart, afraid to trust, afraid to hope. But James's words, hadn't hurry, his belief in her, had cracked that armor. She didn't know if she was ready, but she knew she didn't want to run. The next morning, Lucas bounded into the kitchen, a paper boat in his hand. Emily, let's make a fleet, he said, his eyes bright. She laughed, pushing her fears aside. A whole fleet. You're an unborn. She had one. Captain. They spent the day building boats from newspaper, racing them in a bucket of water. James joined them, his tie loosened, his laughter blending with Lucas's. Emily watched them, her heart swelling. This was what she'd been searching for, not just a job or a home, but a place where she belonged. That evening, as she washed dishes, James appeared beside her, grabbing a towel. Need a hand? She smiled, handing him a plate. You sure you can handle it? CEO. I'm a quick learner. He teased. They worked in silence. The clink of dishes, a soft rhythm. Finally, Emily spoke, her voice quiet. James, what you said last night, I'm scared, but I feel it too. He set the plate down, turning to face her. You don't have to be scared alone. We'll figure it out together. She nodded, a smile breaking through. Together, over the next few months, their bond grew. Emily threw herself into her studies, acing her first exams. Lucas started school, his confidence soaring. James became a constant in her life, not just her employer, but her partner, her friend. They stole moments together. Coffee in the kitchen, walks in the garden, quiet evenings with Lucas asleep upstairs. One rainy afternoon, Lucas ran to Emily with a drawing, a house with 3 figures and a tiny one beside them. That's us, he said, pointing, and that's the baby. Emily laughed, confused. What baby? The one you and Dad are going to have, he said, as if it were obvious. Her cheeks flushed, but the idea lingered, warming her. That night, she showed James the drawing, her voice teasing. Lucas has big plans for us. James grinned, but his eyes were serious. He's not wrong. I want that. Emily, a family. With you, watch the roar. Her heart skipped. You mean it, one? More than anything, he took her hand, his thumb brushing her knuckles. Marry me, Emily. Not because of Lucas or the wallet, but because I love you. Tears spilled down her cheeks, but they were happy ones. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He pulled her close, kissing her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. It was a promise, a beginning, a future she'd never dared dream of. The wedding was small, held in the mansion's garden under a canopy of wildflowers. Emily wore a simple ivory dress, Lucas at her side, beaming as he carried the rings. James's vows were quiet but fierce. You gave me back my heart. Emily, I'll spend my life proving I'm worthy of yours. Her voice trembled as she spoke. I was lost. James, but you found me. I promised to love you, to choose you. Every day, they exchanged rings, Lucas cheering as they kissed. The reception was filled with laughter, music, mirror, and Clara's homemade pies. Emily danced with James under the stars, feeling like she'd stepped into a fairy tale, one she'd written herself. Months later, Emily sat on the porch, a pregnancy test in her hand. 2 lines. She smiled, her heart full. When she told James, he lifted her off the ground, laughing through tears. Lucas, when he heard, declared he'd be the best big brother ever. Their daughter, Lily, was born the following spring, with Emily's hazel eyes and James's stubborn spirit. The mansion, once a quiet shell, was now alive with love, chaos, and the sound of a family whole again. One evening, as they sat on the porch, Lily asleep in Emily's arms. James took her hand. Do you ever think about that wallet? She laughed softly. All the time. I thought I was just doing the right thing. You did, he said, kissing her temple. And it led us here. She leaned against him, the stars bright above. Right where we're meant to be. Hey there, amazing viewers across the USA and beyond. We're thrilled you're diving into this heartfelt story of Emily and James. A tale that proves kindness can change everything. If this story tugs at your heartstrings, don't miss out on more inspiring tales like this. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community for more stories that warm the soul. Share your thoughts in the comments. And let's keep the love spreading. Nestor Warren, settle in and enjoy the journey.